we know that how important those three programs are
Yeah.
to everyday Americans, as a matter of
y-
fact.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm going to step aside. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great hour from you.
Okay.
Hey, enjoy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Brown. This is Everett James again, your trusty tax reporter, coming to you every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. Okay, as I might have alluded to, the Congress finally passed the fiscal year budget for that will carry us till September 30th of 2025. This, was not exactly a original um, decision about spending over the 12 major appropriation areas in the federal government. And as you may have heard, this past Saturday, a continuing resolution was passed. However, all it really did was just maintain the current funding at the prior year levels. So it really didn't have a lot of the original um, concessions and original new ideas for funding these expensive projects. The the continuing resolution will carry us through to as I mentioned, to the end of September of 2025, and it maintains the global funding, health funding, at the prior year's level of 10.8 billion. That's really, as I can see, the impact is going to be extremely heavy on many areas of life, particularly healthcare funding. Speaking about healthcare funding, there's a couple of articles that I'd like to share with you, and you certainly have heard a great deal of discussion opposing any of the cuts that the new Republican administration has been proposing. And unfortunately, the reasons for those cuts has not really been explained in much detail, only opposition. But what has failed to be included in many of the um, advertisements that you're hearing over the radio is the cost of including um, recipients who are clearly by law not entitled to Medicaid. Uh, they um, Unfortunately, some of the states, without getting into too much politics, some of the states in the country have decided on their own to include persons who are not um, citizens of the United States. And the law clearly excludes coverage of Medicaid for those individuals who are not citizens. So now you have one state in particular that I can speak about, which is now under a huge growing strain. And if I might share an article with you from the Southern California Sun from San Francisco, entitled Medi-Cal Under Growing Strain, needs a $3.4 billion loan. The article is by Susan Shelley, a columnist, dated March 16th, which is just this past week of 2025, entitled Medi-Cal Under Growing Strain. The Newsom administration just informed the legislature that it needs to borrow $3.4 billion to pay unexpectedly high costs for Medi-Cal. That's the state's safety net health insurance program for low-income residents that is now open to all undocumented immigrants. As of January 1st of last year, 2024, everyone in California who's in the country illegally is entitled to, quote, full scope Medi-Cal, unlimited, unrestricted, full free health insurance, as long as their reported income is low enough to be eligible. But wait a minute, there's more. Generally, California can seek reimbursement from the federal government for half of its Medi-Cal expenses. Not always. Federal law, however, forbids reimbursement for care provided to illegal immigrants other than the limited services available to everyone under emergency care, also known as restricted scope Medicaid. Let me repeat that again. California can seek reimbursement normally, for the federal government for half of the Medi-Cal expenses, but federal law forbids reimbursement for care provided to illegal immigrants other than limited services available to everybody who comes in and needs emergency care, also known as restricted scope Medicaid. So in California, as in other states that choose to extend these benefits to persons who are not legally here, if Medicaid can be reimbursed on a 50% basis to the state, but not to persons who are and have not been invited to the country and who essentially have snuck across the border. In California, and this when I mentioned Medi-Cal, that's just another name for Medicaid in California. But I have to warn everyone that it's going to be a very, very bad year in their budget office. Like it is Southern California, when you speak about budget, it's going to be pronounced really, really bad math. It's really bad math as far as the California government is concerned, because it initially calculated it will cost between $2 billion and $4 billion each year to provide full scope Medi-Cal to every income eligible undocumented immigrant in the state. So by last summer, the estimate was $6.4 billion, and more recently, Assemblyman Carl DeMaio, a Republican from San Diego, got a Department of Finance official to admit during a budget hearing that it's actually $9.5 billion. this is really something. The government um, department uh, uh, Department of Finance sent a letter informing the legislature that it had to borrow that money to cover higher Medi-Cal expenses through the end of March. Like, oh wow, what are we going to do? What are we going to do in California after March? Borrow more, probably. Well, at this point, you could be wondering just how will this loan ever be repaid? Well, no way can the Medi-Cal program pay for unlimited health care services for an unlimited number of people from all over the world who are here and who are being added to on a daily basis by more folks coming on an uninvited basis. Nearly all of their expenses are being billed to the exhausted taxpayers of California. I'm sure this applies to other states as well. The federal government provides partial funding only for restricted scope Medicaid benefits, which is essentially emergency and pregnancy related services. California began its Medi-Cal expansion to undocumented immigrants in 2015. So it's been going on for some years. Wow. If you might say, if my math is correct, nearly 10 years. The young adults, ages 19 to 25, they became eligible in 2019. Then in 2022, the eligibility was expanded by the California State Legislature to include adults 50 and older. Well, adults 26 to 29 year of age, they were added in 2024. Participants are covered for everything. I mention everything from neonatal to long-term care free. California doesn't even have, and this could apply to other states that have a similar political leadership structure. California doesn't even have the distinction of being the first state to march off this fiscal cliff. That title belongs to Oregon, where the Healthier Oregon program has been offering full Medicaid-like health coverage to all undocumented immigrants since July of 2023. The Oregon Health Authority had previously calculated that there were 55,000 eligible individuals and 80% would enroll. Well, by mid 2024, the Oregon Health Authority, by that time, they had already recognized some of the financial, shortfalls. In Illinois, the health benefits for immigrant seniors is called HBIS. That program has been providing coverage to undocumented immigrants 65 and older since December of 2020, and the health benefits for immigrant adult program added adults age 42 to 64 in 2022. How's it going? Well, how is it going out there in Illinois? Well, the Illinois legislature ordered the state auditor to find out. He reported in February that in fiscal year 2023, the program out there, had 15,000 or so enrollees, not the 6,700 that had been estimated. Their program, serving adults ages 55 to 64, had 17,000 enrollees, not the 8,000 that had been expected. And the program for undocumented immigrants aged 42 to 54 had 36,000 enrollees, almost double the 18,000 that state officials had projected. The cost for the three segments of the higher than expected programs, respectively, have cost Illinois taxpayers 1.6 billion so far. That's quite a number, isn't it? California borrows more than that for breakfast. Now, faced with surging costs for these programs, Illinois officials paused new enrollments in 2023 while maintaining coverage for individuals already enrolled. That's one way the California government could get out of this situation. About a dozen states offer full health coverage to undocumented children up to age 19 or sometimes 21. In Utah, conservative lawmakers agreed to a similar program, but put a cap on the spending in advance. The budget is fixed at $4.5 million per year, limiting enrollment to about 2,000 children. It's easy to say that healthcare is a right, but when you look at healthcare, it's really a service. It has to be provided by skilled people, has to be provided by trained people using facilities and equipment that have to be rented out or purchased. Has to be staffed. Somebody has to pay that utility bill, that payroll tax, the insurance premiums. But Medi-Cal pays very low reimbursement rates. If the math doesn't work out in the long term, doctors stop accepting Medi-Cal patients, exactly what is happening here in California. Hospitals close, and more than 14 million low-income Californians wait even longer for an appointment, if they even received care at all. What about their rights? What about the rights of the people protesting for them? What is going on? So, the advertisements that we're hearing about no changes for Medi-Cal or cutbacks for Medicaid nationally, there's some huge reasons why that program needs to be restricted. Let me share another article, also from the San Bernardino Sun, by Susan Shelley, and it was dated January 7th, oh my goodness, of all last year. And it's entitled, "Can We Afford Health Care for Undocumented Immigrants?" California is now providing the full scope of Medi-Cal benefits to undocumented immigrants. Full scope Medi-Cal, called Medicaid in other states, covers primary and preventative care, specialists, prescription drugs, and other services. Previously, immigrants without legal status were eligible only for restricted scope Medi-Cal, which I had mentioned before. And that restricted scope Medi-Cal, just provided really temporary care, such as emergency room visits, pregnancy-related care. But, effective January 1st of last year, all California residents who meet the income eligibility requirements, regardless of immigration status, are eligible for full scope Medi-Cal benefits. The policy was advanced piecemeal. Beginning in 2016, full scope Medi-Cal benefits were granted to children under the age of 19, and that's regardless of immigration status. that was expanded to young adults through age 25 in 2020. 2 years later, the policy was expanded again by the legislature to include anyone age 50 or older. And on January 1st of this year, of 2025, the missing group, adults aged 26 through 49, became entitled to exactly the same full scope Medi-Cal benefits available to all low-income citizens and legal residents of California. So now there are approximately 14 million people, roughly 1/3 of the state's population, on Medi-Cal. To repeat, there's approximately 14 million people, about 1/3 of the California population, on Medi-Cal. And it's going to cost about $3 billion per year. In truth, no one has any idea how many people would be added to the rolls or what it will cost. Medi-Cal is an entitlement program. Everyone who meets the eligibility requirement is entitled to enroll in it, and then they're entitled to have Medi-Cal cover the cost of whatever medical services they need. The latest expansion, was approved by lawmakers in Sacramento in 2022, and then tucked into into a bill, SB 184. And that was one of those long trailer bills that are being rushed through the legislature in a matter of days without going through the usual committee process, and where policies can be more meaningfully considered. So if lawmakers had taken the time to read the bill, this sentence might have jumped out at them. Quote, the federal Medicaid program prohibits payment to a state for medical assistance furnished to an alien who is not lawfully admitted for permanent residency or otherwise permanently residing in the United States under color of law. That means California will not receive federal matching funds to help pay for the extension of all of these programs. But the highest cost is going to be borne by the Californians who already depend on Medi-Cal for health care. Politicians can stand very pompously in front of cameras and declare that health care is a human right. But that there's a lot of shortcomings in that statement. Healthcare is really a service provided by skilled and trained folks. There really can't be right to anything that has to be provided by someone else or paid by somebody else. To stretch the state's funds while enrolling more people to receive benefits, California actually sharply limits the amount of health care that they will be paid for treating Medi-Cal patients. And as a result, doctors have already been for years sharply limiting the number of Medi-Cal patients they will even accept for treatment. So it's really a tough situation. In 2017, there were about 13 million Californians on Medi-Cal. With a estimated 700,000 more eligibles to enroll as a result of the latest expansion. But California is currently facing the $68 billion budget shortfall. What kind of plan is in place? Well, on January 10th, the Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee, held a wealth tax proposal, hopefully trying to shoulder a lot of these additional expenses on the wealthier residents, of the state. So that is a bit of information that you might be hearing more about in the future, particularly because healthcare funding, is one of those things that is taking prime attention in the Congress. In addition to healthcare funding, of course, the National Congress is focusing on the what to do about the 2017, 2018 Trump era uh, tax cuts and the Job Act that was passed that made it possible for so many people to receive much more generous refunds and much less of a tax balance due bill. So let's look at some of the let's look at some of the issues that are going to be faced, are being faced by the current national legislators. And there's been a lot of chatter, of course, about what specific provisions are going to be repealed or may be repealed, which may survive the cuts. Let's take a look. Well, there's about 6 or 7 things here that will not happen in the legislature. Number one, the federal income tax is not going to be repealed. You've heard a lot of chatter about that possibility, but that's never going to happen. Some Republicans in Congress support proposals to just end that federal income tax entirely and just replace it with a consumption-based tax. Well, even President Trump has talked and bantered about axing the income taxes. Well, despite that talk, their White House officials and congressional tax writers, they're currently debating about what will or will not be in that bill that would generally involve extending those tax breaks. And I can guarantee you that the tax repeal is not on the table. It's been around since 1913. President Wilson signed it into law 8 months later after the 16th Amendment was ratified by the states. More than 110 years later, the federal income tax is not going anywhere anytime soon. Number two, IRS is not going to be abolished. Some lawmakers have proposed bills to kill IRS. They include Billy Long, who is a former congressman, who is Trump's pick to head the agency. While in the House, he co-sponsored a bill to get rid of income taxes and get rid of IRS service, but that did not go anywhere. We do need an agency, really, because of the size and the scope of what IRS does. We do need an agency to run that system, collect the revenues, and do all the related tasks. Number three, layoffs will be taking a heavy toll on IRS, and that toll began in 2025 when 100,000 workers. Since then, about 5,000 have taken the deferred resignation offer, and 7,000, there's been 7,000 mainly new hires. They were let go also. Trump administration now wants the total IRS workforce cut in half. That's not likely to happen. Now, such a massive cut will make IRS just a shell of its current self and will certainly hurt, especially the online services that it provides. certainly more hurt collection and enforcement, of course, and things that hurt those items, those functions, collection and enforcement, mean that the government's going to be even further behind and more, and the national debt will even increase more. One thing that has been noticed that people have talked about collections, privacy, customer service, but they don't mention as much, however, compliance and enforcement. So if there are going to be any cuts in the IRS, the Department of Revenue, it may not include compliance and enforcement. It may just be focusing on just collecting money, privacy that has to be guaranteed to the taxpayers, and customer service, which is a huge department in itself. The fourth major thing that is highly unlikely that you are going to even hear about being cut back, and that's Social Security benefits. Social Security benefits are not going to be fully tax-free. It's highly likely that the beneficiaries are continuing to get taxed on the benefits they're receiving. A lot of Social Security recipients are currently paying that federal income tax, and that has to be laid at the feet of Ronald Reagan, because that's when that percentage of Social Security benefits were being taxed. That was when it was put into law, and now, and at that time it was increased up to 85% of their benefits, depending on provisional incomes. Trump has vowed to end all federal income tax on those benefits, and that would put a huge dent, of course, in the Social Security Trust Fund, from which all of the monthly benefits are actually being paid. Although most federal tax receipts go to the government's general revenue, income tax paid on taxable Social Security benefits are only targeted for the trust funds that pay out Social Security and Medicare benefits. Nearly $50 billion from income taxes on Social Security benefits was allocated to the Social Security Trust Fund in 2023. The fifth thing that's not likely to happen, regarding some of the changes that are coming because of the expiration of the tax upgrades in 2017. Congressional Republicans are using the budget reconciliation process to circumvent the 60-vote filibuster rule in the Senate, but there are technical rules involved with budget reconciliation. That's a very complicated process. And for one example, you cannot use it on anything directly affecting Social Security. So for any proposal to change the federal taxation of Social Security, it cannot be included in the budget reconciliation bill. And the sixth thing that's not likely to happen, they're really, or more likely to happen here, is that tax rates are really looking at a lot of other means of tax relief for seniors. I would not even be surprised if many of the items that President Trump has come up with to obtain income, such as tariffs. I would not even be surprised if somehow they manage or maneuver getting some of those monies to help relieve the pressure to fund the Social Security Trust Fund. As the Republican lawmakers continue to negotiate what's going to have to be a new tax package passed this year, because if a new tax package is not passed, then everything reverts to the rules that were still in existence at the end of 2017. That will put even additional strain, on paying for the huge increases in the social services funding programs that we have all become accustomed to, and upon for all of the special life support requirements that we all have to face. The credit unions are one organization that are really being pressed hard to preserve their valuable tax exemption. They get an exemption, but they have a reason to worry, because the credit unions, they get a sizable exemption. But that has been repealing that exemption for credit unions is on an extensive list of revenue saving options that has been discussed by the House Budget Committee to help pay for other tax cuts. And this is not the first time that exemption has been at risk, because many others have been at risk. Okay, folks, since we are now in the later stages of the tax filing season for 2024, just keep in mind that the due date for the 2024 tax return is April 15th. It remains April 15th. Taxpayers in disaster areas have more time to file and pay. It's May 1st. The April 15th has been changed to May 1st for all those in the disaster areas. It's May 1st for those taxpayers in all of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So that's for the whole states of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Now, it's the May 1st deadline is relevant and applies to parts of the following states: parts of Alaska, New Mexico, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And I'll mention those states again. It applies to parts of Alaska, New Mexico, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And if you are a victim of this horrendous Southern California wildfire, you have until October 15th of 2025. And for flood victims in Kentucky, it's November 3rd. You can get a filing extension. Wow. And that you can, that extension would extend your time to file until, of course, October 15th of 2025 if you're not ready to file. The extra time extends only to the tax return filing deadline, but unfortunately does not extend to the time that you have to pay the taxes that you owe. So keep in mind that the taxes that you owe are still due on April 15th, not the October 15th deadline for the filing extension. You can use IRS's free file program to e-file 4868 and pay if you expect to owe tax. And again, if you do expect to owe tax, a tax balance, that the form that you use is form 4868, and that can be electronically filed if you wish, or it can be just put in the mail. But keep in mind that if you do file, you need to include a payment, even if it's just a part payment. Of course, you do need to make a payment using IRS's direct pay service, or you can just use the the electronic federal tax payment system, or you can just mail the return with a payment, on paper. But as you know, anything on paper is going to take a great deal of time. So do not expect a prompt response from IRS confirming that the fact that you filed the return and made a payment. Some of you may be in a situation where you are ready to fill out the 2024 tax return, but you haven't even received your W-2 yet. Well, if you are lucky enough or fortunate enough, or I should say forward-looking enough, to have already set up an IRS individual account online. Wow. IRS has been adding 2023 W-2s and 2024 W-2s filed by employer too. So they've been adding those W-2s online. So you can create an account if you don't already have one. Now, granted, you take it from this tax practitioner, it can be a headache, particularly in establishing your identity of all things. After they get through having you go through all of the different first level, second level, third level, confirmations of just who you are, you will almost have spent half a day just in doing that in itself. But I can guarantee you that it is well worth it down the road if you just have that account, because you'll never know how many chores and requirements that you will meet in a reasonable amount of time, just because you have a head start in having an account already set up with IRS. So if you and just regarding your refund or possible, if you're getting a refund, hopefully you will have already filed your 1040, by April 15th of this that is coming up. It's hard to believe, next month. So if you do a refund, that you're in good shape, but and if you are filing a return and it looks pretty clear that you're going to be getting a refund, you don't have to worry about late filing penalties or late payment penalties, because those two things, late filing penalties and late payment penalties, they only apply if you owe a tax. if you have a tax balance due. Okay, so are you in the situation now where you're ready to fill out your 2024 return, but you haven't as yet received your W-2? Well, now, if you have an IRS individual online tax account, you could consult your online account and obtain a W-2 through that contact. You can contact your employer, ask for a copy of the W-2. If all else fails, file a 1040 and attach a form 4852. And this is important. This is a substitute W-2 form on which you would estimate your wages and your taxes that have been withheld, or that you feel pretty certain have been withheld, and just do it to the best that the IRS understands that filing a substitute W-2 form with the your best estimate of how much taxes were withheld, that's something that you're doing to the best of your ability. So you're not going to be taken to court for coming up with an error in that with that information. So, folks, I did fail to mention that if you do have questions or concerns, or even would like to get some additional information on a particular topic of your choosing, please feel free to contact this practitioner or contact this program by email. My name again, Everett James. At my phone number is 951-522-9877. By email, please send your emails to evjtax1@gmail.com. Again, evjtax1@gmail.com. And we can assure you that we will make every effort to answer any questions or try to clarify any areas of confusion, because taxes do get confusing. But to clarify any areas that you need help with. So give us a call at 951-522-9877, or by email evjtax1@gmail.com. So as the Republican and Democratic lawmakers work on a tax bill that somehow they are hopeful of getting bipartisan support on, they're going to have to tackle some pretty tough key sticking points. One of them is that popular state and local tax deduction that's used by folks who itemize on the Schedule A. Right now, as you know, it's the $10,000 max. It's a $10,000 cap on the state and local tax write-offs, and up to or prior to 2018, the deduction was generally unlimited. You could write off as much as you were being charged, basically. But it was generally unlimited for individuals, except for folks who owed the AMT, the alternative minimum tax. That's a whole different type of tax structure that applies just to persons with certain high income bracket. situations. So and that would is an additional tax added on to your what would be your normal tax. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act actually enacted that $10,000 limitation on state and local taxes. So, as I say, that expires December 31 of 2025. If nothing is done, as I mentioned, then you could deduct those state and local income taxes as you did before 2018. It's a huge item. The folks in the House of Representatives from high tax states, of course, they want to raise that cap, or at least or to end it, one of the two. If they could, raise it up to a significant amount, they would be happy with that. I would tend to believe that will probably be the first provision that's going to be amended or changed. And they certainly have the folks in the House of Representatives certainly have the ears of the congressional leaders and President Trump. The president has been calling for increasing the cap, likely because he needs those votes of the GOP House members to pass legislation. With a 1 or 2 person majority, however, in the lower chamber of Congress, in the House, Republicans certainly cannot afford to lose a lot of votes. The group of Republicans who support lifting that cap might be very small, but they're mighty. They can wield lots of power and affect what goes on and what goes in and what stays out of a tax bill. So lifting that cap would cost a great deal of revenue, and actually would really mainly benefit the wealthy, in this country. Other experts think that at the end of the day, the state and local tax cap won't be fully repealed, just despite repeated calls by the bipartisan caucus to do exactly that. But it could be higher. So it could be higher, as I mentioned. And the options I won't go into now, because there's just many, the multitudinous options that would take the rest of this program to explain. But there is one alternative that I might mention that just might be an example of what type of compromise might be worked out. One might be like, for example, let the $10,000 limitation expire at the end of 2025, but then let filers deduct only property taxes, but not the state and local income taxes. Another idea is to fully eliminate the state and local income tax deduction for just business taxpayers. So it would be good for folks, everybody except those who file a business tax return. So those are some of the ideas. Keep in mind, folks, that for those of you who are going to who have a balance due, or are hoping to get a refund, get it set up electronically. That is definitely the fastest way to get your money. You can use up to 3 bank accounts to have money refunded into. Such as you might want to have refunded or split up between like a checking account, savings account, or a mutual fund account, or, for example, an IRA, Roth, or a traditional account. provided that account is in your name, your spouse's name, or both of your names. You do need to attach a form 8888. You won't have difficulty remembering the number of this form, but it's form 8888 to your 1040, or use tax software to split a refund between accounts. So the just a reminder for folks who are selling your primary home, and that's a reminder in the process of calculating your gain or loss. You start off with the amount of gross proceeds reported in box 2 of the 1099-S. So it's generally very important to get a 1099-S form, which really gives the essentials of your home sales, so you can report the correct amount on your tax return. So start off with the amount of the gross proceeds reported in box 2 of the 1099-S form, and then subtract your selling expenses, such as the commissions to arrive at the amount realized, sales commission to the real estate dealer, so you can come up with the amount realized. Reduce that amount realized figure by your adjusted tax basis in the home to come up with a gain or loss. So again, start off with the amount of the proceeds reported in box 2 of the 1099-S form, and then subtract your selling expenses, such as your sales commissions, to arrive at an amount realized. Reduce that amount realized figure by your adjusted tax basis in the home, and that gives you your gain or loss. Taxpayers who have owned and used the property as their principal residence for at least 2 out of 5 years before the sale can exclude up to $250,000 of gain. If you're single, you can exclude up to $500,000, $500,000, if filing a joint return. Losses from sales of primary homes are not deductible. You can't deduct any losses on your, from the sale of a primary home. You can deduct losses in other areas of the tax return, but not from the sale of a primary home. That's not deductible. What is the publication that you can consult in helping you to arrive at some of these important figures? Publication 523, IRS Pub 523, has all kinds of details, including whether you need to report the sale at all, even. If you have to sell your primary home, and this probably does apply to a lot of people, unfortunately, if you have to sell your primary home early because of a natural disaster, you can still qualify for the exclusion of gain, but it might be maybe a lesser amount. If you must sell your home early, you may still be eligible for a portion of the exclusion, depending on the circumstances. Now, if you sell a residence due to a change in employment, due to illness, unforeseen circumstance, you can, use those as legitimate reasons for obtaining a special consideration. And that's if you look at a change of employment, having a major illness, or an unforeseen circumstance occur. A natural disaster that takes place within the otherwise 2 out of 5 year required period is an unforeseen circumstance. IRS says privately, so that's something that IRS will say privately to a person who can't live in her or his house because of such a disaster. just for your information, with the remaining amount of time we have, nonprofit hospitals are coming under fire from a whole bunch of senators. These hospitals must meet a lot of rules to get their tax exemption, their federal tax exemption, and then to keep it every year. They have to provide, their hospital does have to provide a community benefit. The hospital does have to observe organizational and operational rules, and satisfy a lot of other rules related to emergency care policies, billing, and collection data, community health needs assessments, and financial assistance policies for the indigent. Senators Charles Grassley from Kentucky, or from Kansas, I'm sorry, and Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat from Massachusetts, wrote a letter to IRS. And they alleged that some nonprofit hospitals are shirking their duties to give charitable care and are engaging in abusive collection practices. That's really rugged to be at the end, or at the being the victim of abusive collection practices when you're just coming out of a hospital where you may have been suffering not only from the illness but also from the treatment. Wow. Charles Grassley and Elizabeth Warren, they're urging IRS to take steps such as publishing guidance clarifying financial assistance policies of hospitals and prohibiting exempt hospitals from using aggressive collection measures. Oh, I can't imagine. And we all know what kind of collection, what aggressive measures there are that have been used by hospitals to squeeze money out of you. Just before we close, keep in mind that per the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, under Trump, tax return preparation fees are not deductible on Schedule A. That 2000 tax law suspended through 2025 all miscellaneous itemized deductions. You know that there are some people who still believe that that is legitimate to deduct itemized deductions, miscellaneous itemized deductions of Schedule A. And unfortunately, no, those deductions got ruled out of the law in that 2017 tax law. And that includes what tax preparation specialists charge as part of part of their preparation costs. Now, that does not apply, however, to you if you are preparing a Schedule C, a business return, a Schedule E, which is for rental incomes, and Schedule F is for farms. You can still deduct part of the cost of what you pay the tax preparer on the Schedule C for rental income, Schedule C for business income, Schedule E for the rental income, and F for farms. IRS has said in a 1992 review ruling that tax return preparation expenses that are incurred in preparing Schedule C, sole proprietors, rentals, royalties, and farmers are deductible in calculating the AGI, meaning they are above the line deductions. Taxpayers who are attaching these schedules to their 1040 should be able to thus write off an allocable portion of total return preparation fees on the corresponding schedule. So that's a nice exception to the rule on a lot of the expenses that are now not legitimate to deduct on the Schedule A. But those same items are legitimate to deduct on the business return, rental return, or farmer's return. So so keep those things in mind. Keep in mind that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that we have been talking about that has to be reviewed and either updated, or suspended. One of the two. That deduction ends December. All those deductions from the 2017 tax law ends after December 31st. As of December 31st of this year. And that law did a lot of good. It provided federal tax parity between C corporations, which are taxed at 21%, and pass-through entities in which the individual owners pay income tax on earnings up to a 37% tax rate. But they did provide tax parity between those two entities. The congressional Republicans certainly want to make that 20% qualified business income deduction permanent. That applies to many businesses that do meet the eligibility standards. They have a lot of support from lobbying groups representing Main Street businesses. Some tax professional groups want the write-off expanded. For example, the American Institute of CPAs, they want that specified service trade or business limit, for upper income folks removed, or an increase in the monetary threshold. Of course, extending that deduction, the QBI, they call it, qualified business income, extending that would cost the government a great deal of money. If you'll excuse, please. This popular tax rate is in the top 10 of the largest deductions that are available.
Good morning.
Yes. And can you excuse me? So come in. The congressional Republicans want to make the 20% QBI deduction permanent. And some tax professional groups, want.
You are, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Some tax congressional Republicans, they do have support from lobbying groups representing Main Street businesses. The American Institute of CPAs wants the specified service trade or business limit for upper incomers removed, or alternatively, an increase into the monetary threshold. So some of the other things that businesses would like to see happen, lawmakers do want to fully restore 3 popular business tax breaks. The bonus depreciation is a big one. Prior to 2023, businesses could deduct the full cost of new and used qualifying assets with lives of 20 years or less. Now the break is 40%, and next year it falls to 20%. So that keeps going. Businesses would like the 100% bonus depreciation revived. How about research and development? Well, before 2022, businesses could fully expense research and development costs By the way, that's been research and development. That's been one of the most highly abused deduction going. So for those who are planning to use that deduction, please take great care in claiming that deduction. The businesses are required to amortize their research and development expenses over 5 years and 15 years for overseas research. The House and Senate GOPers want the old rules resuscitated. We'll have to see what happens there. And then interest deductions on business debts of large companies. That's that is a big concern for some companies. The TCJA limited a lot of firms' net interest write-offs to 30% of adjusted taxable income, with disallowed interest carried forward. So, starting with tax years that began in 2022, depletion and amortization write-offs are accounted for in computing the firm's adjustable tax income. Eliminating these two deductions from the adjustable tax income would increase the adjustable tax income, thus letting firms deduct more interest than if the two deductions were included. So we will, see about, how that all plays out. We can go on as long as this programmer has the time. There have been some updates that I might share with you on state-paid family and medical leave programs. The 13 states and in Washington, D.C. have mandatory programs that provide leave for employees of firms for caregiving and medical reasons. Benefits are generally funded by taxes paid by employers and or employees. An IRS ruling addresses the tax consequences. Employers can generally deduct contributions as excise tax payments. The employee contribution is treated as wages and is taxable to the worker. The employer contribution is excluded from an employee's federal gross income. It's interesting. Employees can deduct contributions as state income taxes on Schedule A, provided they itemize and their state and local tax deduction does not exceed $10,000. And last, employees are taxed on state-paid family leave benefits they receive. The amount is attributable to the employers and the employees' contributions, and that's tax income to the employee. States must report the amounts on Form 1099. The tax rules on medical leave benefits received is more complex. So, some additional items that you might be interested in. We have not really gotten into many of the secure retirement legislative changes, but there are a large number that are going to take place in 2026. Just to give you an idea, some more people with disabilities can set up ABLE accounts. Presently, tax advantage ABLE accounts can be opened only for individuals who become blind or disabled before reaching age 26. The Secure 2.0 legislation raises the age to 46. That's a big change there. $2,500 from 401ks can be used penalty-free to pay long-term care premiums. Interesting. So you could use the up to $2,500 out of your 401k to pay for long-term care insurance, and that's great because that long-term care insurance is expensive, and oftentimes for workers winds up being a reason they don't even get long-term care insurance in the first place. But if you are saving money through your 401k, you can use part of that money to $2,500 of it to pay for that premium that comes up every month. If you're if you're under age 59 and a half, the distributions from your 401k, if you use it for that purpose, for paying for long-term care premiums, it will not be penalized with a 10% fine. Wow. Okay, folks, for those of you who are in a higher income bracket and you want to give away some of your money, particularly the grandkids who are in college or children who are in college, the tax exclusion this year, but this is for 2025, has gone up, and that it's gone up to 19,000 to each person without paying any gift tax. If your spouse agrees, you can give out a gift up to 38,000 per donee. But if you and your spouse decide to do this, you are required to file a federal gift tax return on Form 709 to elect to split that gift that way. You will not owe a gift tax, but you'll have to report the gift. Larger gifts over 19,000 per donee are also a smart tax move this year. You will have to file a gift tax return on Form 709, but you won't owe any gift tax unless you use up to the lifetime estate and gift tax exemption, and that is $13,998,000. So that would be, some information that that you might like to use in cutting back your expenses. Now, for folks who would like to get additional information on a particular subject, a specialized subject, that is easy. You can call this broadcaster. You can call this broadcaster and request, a special program that's designated to that particular subject. So we will do that. And if you're for those of you who have bought business vehicles, you for 2025, if you have a business, you're going to get a generous income tax break in 2025 in the current year, and this is for this current year, not 2024. And this is for used and business and used and new cars. If the bonus depreciation is claimed the first year limitation for a car first placed in service in 2025 is $20,200. Second and third year limitations are $19,600 and $11,800. For each succeeding year, the depreciation limitation cap is $7,060. So if no first year depreciation is taken, the first year cap is $12,200. If you are a buyer of a heavy SUV, you also get write-offs, and that's up to $31,300 of the cost of a utility vehicle with weights exceeding 6,000 pounds. 40% of the balance of the cost of the heavy SUV, after reducing the cost by $31,300 amount, but you can take 40% of that balance after using that $31,300 amount. And the rest of the cost of the car make disqualify for a regular 5-year depreciation. The tax break is actually larger for big, for the monster SUVs. So you might want to keep that in mind. Those are over 6,000 pounds with a cargo bed at least 6 feet long and not accessible from the cab. You can take up to 100% of the cost, depending on the business use, and it can be expensed under the higher expensing limits. Now, note that this limitation, when expensing business assets, the amount expense cannot exceed taxable income from the taxpayer's business. Okay, again, I would repeat that this is a general rule, in working with depreciation. And give me a break here to just get that amount correctly. The expensing amount cannot exceed the amount that you expense, the amount that you write off, cannot exceed the taxable income from the taxpayer, from the business itself. So keep that in mind. Okay. So for questions, please feel free to contact Everett James at 951-522-9877. Okay, please feel free to call that number or to contact me at evjtax1@gmail.com. And what we will do is we will take further questions, and I'll be happy to include the answer in the next week's program. So keep that in mind. Okay, we will be signing off at this point, and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on the West Coast and 1 p.m. on the East Coast. Have a great week. Hey, I just continue talking. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, is that right? Well, I just finished of my own accord. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll be done. Ah, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think I did. I just went ahead and continued talking. Hey, hey, let me ask you a quick question. The gal who was on entertainment last week, do you remember Kaya? Do you remember how to spell her name? She's from Riverside. How you spell that? Oh, M-A-C what? Oh, N-A what? Uh-huh. Oh, oh, Naciah. Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, and what's your last name? What? Spell it. Oh, Watts. Okay, Watts. Okay, that's great. Is she on again this evening? Okay. At what time? 5:15. I'll tune in. Oh, good. Oh, I'm not good. Okay. Have you been up to see it or no? Yeah. I mean, have you called or anything? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, is that? Oh my God. Oh, okay. Oh, is that right? Yeah. I'll be done. Hey, do you have a number for his? Is he still married? Yeah. You don't have a number for his wife, do you? So I could give her a call or something? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, please do. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you next week. Okay. Mm. Mr. Yes, my name is Everett James. I've been trying to reach Noel Winfrey without any success. Um, and it was very important. Can you suggest something? Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Jesus. Hello. Jesus. Hello? John, yes, John. Thank you for taking my call. John, I have made an investment, just a small investment, but I need to take part of it out. Hello? Of course, but I can't, I've talked to him many times and I just can't seem to connect with him. He's, I never can reach him by phone. I mean, I have not been able to reach him by phone. And I really do need to get part of my investment cashed in. Yeah, it's an emergency. Noel Winfrey. And I've tried to call him multiple times. He's always busy. I can't reach him. My first name is Everett, EV. I've got the account number and everything. Do you want my account number? Over to who? Yeah, see, I can't reach him though. Thank you. Yeah, but I need to speak to him though. Oh, I understand. Thank you. All right, you take your time. You take your time. $5,000 worth. Thank you. Damn it. Hey, William. Oh, okay. Yeah, I am. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm ready. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. $301. Hold on. $301. Okay. One what? A 1-2. Hold on. Thanks a lot. I've been holding on another line too. 559-301-1258. And you know something? I've forgotten her. I've forgotten her first name. Sandra. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Hey, thanks a million. Talk to you later. I'll see you next week. Hello. Yeah, I just had another. I was just on another line. That's all right. I'm not impatient. Oh, I see. Okay, and you're John, right? Hold on a second. I've been doing two things here. Okay, John. What's the last name? Okay. Oh, okay. It does. And what's the number? Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Ever James, yeah. Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. You've been most helpful. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye-bye. Hello? Hello?
New message playback. One new message. Hey, Al. Hey, buddy. Give me a call as soon as you get this. StreamYard went belly up a few minutes ago. All right? So anyway, give me a call, my friend. Thanks.
Hello, Sandra. My extreme condolences. I had heard, from William Brown, because he has a podcast that I do every week, and of course my extreme condolences. Is the first off. Is there some way you can let Rudy know that I called on to see how he was doing? And can you possibly? I understand he's going to be moved to another facility. Yes, I'd like to come and visit him at some point. Can you give me any suggestions? At Riverside Community Hospital. Okay. Room 480. Okay, thank you very much. When's Okay, and he's a Riverside community. Thank you so much, Sandra, and God bless you. You know something? I don't know. I don't know if William did that. Yeah, because I just do the tax stuff. Oh yeah. I do a podcast every week on just on taxes. So that's all right. That's all right. Okay, I'm so sorry. And do you folks still live out in San Bernardino? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sure. Okay. Thanks a lot. Take that. Bye bye. Jesus.
Call from Aztec.
Yes, good afternoon. Hello. Hi, Susan, Everett James. Susan, did you get my letter? And just calling to see how you're doing. 909-351-6212. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hmm.
Trump executive order. You have DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard out there that is saying she's going to continue as things are released, new things are released. She'll put it out on her X account so that you know that it's out there. Also, there's links basically wherever you go to search this stuff, where you can literally print this stuff out if you want it or have it on digital format, whatever it may be. So again, approximately 80,000 pages out there. One of the JFK files includes unredacted testimony from a CIA official related to potential efforts to assassinate communist dictator Fidel Castro. Also, CIA official William Sturberg claimed to the Rockefeller Commission in 1975 that he had overheard CIA discussions in October or November of 1963, just before JFK's assassination, about potential efforts to kill the Cuban strongman. Again, we know JFK was assassinated in 1963. The deposition by Sturberg, I believe, who said he worked within the CIA's Directorate of Operations beginning in 1964 until 73 was taken at a CIA headquarters in April of 1975. Sturberg talked about Miami Station and about a Task Force W, which was focused on operations against Cuba. A key part of his energy focused on a talk he overheard with Desmond Fitzgerald, the head of the Special Activity Staff, which became known as the Cuban Operations Group. Sturberg also suggested that RFK Jr., JFK's brother, was aware of the alleged Castro plot. And there's, rumors out there that maybe because of the Bay of Pigs situation, maybe that is why JFK was assassinated. He told the commission that the first knowledge he ever had of discussions related to the potential assassination attempt against Castro came in October of 1963. I mean, I can go on, but basically what's happening right now, all that's out there right now, is basically confirming some of the stuff that is known. And so as more becomes available, we will definitely share more. But I don't think that there's any bombshells, at least not yet, that have been released with these JFK files. Maybe by the time I get off air, they will be, and then I'll be like, man, but we'll wait and see. But much of it is stuff, and I'm just breathing through it, literally. Much of this is stuff that we already knew. Warren Commission report 1964 concluded that the shots which killed Kennedy were fired by Oswald. The Select Committee on Assassinations of 1979 similarly found that Oswald fired 3 shots at JFK, that the second and third shot hit him, and that the third shot killed him. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that JFK was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The Select Committee wrote, the committee is unable to identify the other gunman or the extent of the conspiracy. The committee concluded that the Secret Service, FBI, CIA were not involved in the assassination. The committee also concluded, based on available evidence, that the Soviet government and Cuban government were not involved either. I think we have our guy. I mean, and maybe there's going to be a bombshell, but simply, I believe that we have our guy. All right, moving on. And again, I'm sure you'll be looking just as I will. So if there's any bombshell news, we'll be sure to break that. But the Let's Break Things, that's the focus of the show today. Conservatives build things. The Let's Break Things, and that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, the fact that we couldn't celebrate what we witnessed yesterday as Americans is just insane to me. The fact that you literally have a man that's out there, whether you agree with EVs or don't, and I don't like them, frankly, but I admire a guy that says, hey, listen, man, this is America. I came from South Africa as a legal immigrant. This is my dream, and yes, he got government contracts. And honestly, I've attacked him in the past over government contracts, but then you look at, here's my shift on Elon Musk started changing slightly. Just slightly, I must admit, but I love what he's done with X. But I remember years ago, I was watching the television. This was when Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, was just retiring some of these NASA space shuttles, and it was just weird to me. Like, okay, we're giving up on in space. I didn't even know if I knew what I thought clearly about space missions, but I've read enough to know. Listen, a lot of discovery is made from, things or comes from things that we learn from, from outer space. So I didn't think the program should end. And I just thought that was crazy. And then I remember Elon Musk at the time getting into SpaceX. And I remember thinking, I'm not so sure that this guy, even as smart as he is, can come in and do as well as the government with all of the resources and all of the brainiacs that are associated with NASA. And frankly, I know a couple of people that work at NASA, and they are brainiacs. But it was like, no, he did it. And the guy was on the verge of bankruptcy. 3 missions that failed with SpaceX. The 4th one survived, and then he got funding and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, so now he goes and saves these astronauts. He's the only one. SpaceX is the only one that could have made that trip possible yesterday. I got to take you to California because that's where the left wants to take you. They want to take you to California, and I'm urging those of you that are listening not to go there. And for any of you that think the fight is over just because Trump has been elected, just because you got some rhino Republicans elected, the fight isn't over. The fight is just starting. And what the left fears this time around is, oh my Lord, we finally got a president that actually means what he says. That's why they're freaking out. We'll be back.
The answer. Breaking news. A man is accused of attacking several fellow passengers aboard a Delta Airlines flight from Atlanta to LAX. The LA Fire Department and the TSA say the man was restrained after fighting a passenger and hitting others shortly after the plane landed on Monday. At least one person was injured. The suspect was taken to a hospital for psychological evaluation. It's unclear what charges he may face. NASA and Boeing aren't ready to give up on Starliner. Tammy Trujillo reports.
NASA officials said yesterday it's working on issues that led to helium leaks in the capsule last year. The capsule was supposed to bring astronaut Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore home from the International Space Station. Those leaks made that too dangerous, though. So Williams and Wilmore were stuck on the ISS for 9 months. They finally returned to Earth yesterday on a SpaceX capsule. As for Starliner, NASA says it will resume testing this summer in New Mexico. If all goes well, Starliner could be reintroduced to NASA's space rotation and carry astronauts to the ISS once again. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
The White House says President Trump and Russian President Putin have agreed to start talks on a limited ceasefire with Ukraine. A man accused of causing an explosion at a home in Thousand Oaks last week is pleading not guilty to a felony charge. A 66-year-old suspect is facing 1 count of possession of a substance, material, or any combination with the intent of making a destructive device. Now our answer weather forecast. Meteorologist Andrew Rourke has that from the National Weather Service.
Really nice today. I look for sunny skies. High temperatures in the valley rising into the mid-80s, coastal areas lower 70s. For the most part, beaches might be a few degrees cooler than that. Just a really nice day today. Not much change tomorrow. A little cooler at beaches.
67 San Marino, 70 Riverside. Larry Marino answer with breaking news and talk you can trust.
This recording is sponsored by Lowe's, and Lowe's members get more every day. Shop weekly member-only deals and earn points on eligible purchases. Join for free today. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms subject to change.
I learned the hard way just how important it is to have a will and live in trust. A friend of mine, his dad passed away without any plan, and settling his estate through probate was a nightmare of delays and expenses. What about you? Here's what Valerie from Highland wrote about the help she received from American Legal Documents.
What is Shariki and stuff to break care my mother in doing her trust? We walked into the meeting unsure and unsettled about certain assets. After the meeting was waived, my mother felt more at ease. The process was simplified and really took a lot of stress from my mom.
Life is unpredictable, and planning ahead is one of the best gifts you can give to your family. American Legal Documents provides tools to protect your loved ones. For a free consultation, log on to AmericanLegalDocuments.net, AmericanLegalDocuments.net, or call 909-945-2263. 909-945-2263. Plan today for your family's future.
While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can get the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments. from as far back as 2010. On Mondays, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Like liberty and the pursuit of happiness, that's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to TraderTopia.com and hear all your favorite segments, along with lectures, celebrity interviews, famous Torah teachings, and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at TraderTopia.com. TraderTopia.com.
Alright, welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show. I am your guest host, Carl Jackson, sitting in for the one and only Dennis Prager. The number to call in, 1-8-PRAGER, 776-18-PRAGER, 776 is the number to call in. Guys, I want to talk to you about Pure Talk. Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. Well, now there's a third certainty. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to Pure Talk. That's right, Pure Talk is cutting the fat for the wireless industry. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Listen to this. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to Pure Talk. That's real money back in your pocket. And with Pure Talk's customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. And you can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Dial pound 250, say the keyword Dennis Prager to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off of your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say Dennis Prager to start saving today. Pure Talk, wireless, by Americans, for Americans. Pure Talk, Pure Talk, Pure Talk. All right. Guys, I'll go to your calls in just a second. Let me get to this California situation. I want to get to this justice that is now telling Trump that he's got to return money to USAID, which is absolutely insane. A piece by AMAC, if I can fit it in, about Chief Justice John Roberts and why he's in the wrong for calling out Trump, particularly publicly, when it comes to this activist Judge Boasberg that is on the district court in D.C. But let me start here, guys. We don't want to wind up like California. Victor Davis Hanson writes a great piece at the Daily Signal, and he did speak about, and I disagree with this, and guys, I feel like honestly, our colleague Charlie Kirk is probably the only one that really challenged seemingly Gavin Newsom. But I see in general, I don't think it's a good idea for conservatives to go on Gavin Newsom's platform and give him a platform. The left are absolutely imploding. There's news that is just breaking that Representative Ivey, and I won't go back to it because I'm having to go back and forth on my screen, has been the first congresswoman or person, I believe it's a woman, to step out and say, okay, it's time for Chuck D. Schumer to step down. And I'm going to play audio for you, or video for you later. Chuck D. Schumer thinks that you should work for the federal government and say thank you. All right, but it's insane. But I don't believe that anybody on the right should give Gavin Newsom a platform. He's been an absolute disaster. If you're gonna talk Gavin Newsom, what should be talked up is about the illegal immigration in California, the crime that resulted in California, the homelessness, the boot maps, and everything else. But I would not give Gavin Newsom the opportunity to look like a model. I would not give him the opportunity to succeed. The truth of the matter is, even though Trump won a mandate, there's still, let's be honest, there's a lot of dumb voters out there. And you don't want to give them, and this is what the left is doing. So all the left has is chaos, right? They have chaos, they have hatred, they like breaking things, and what they're going to try to do, because they have no solutions, is they're going to try to do the same old, the same playbook, the BLM, the Antifa playbook. They want to get you guys tired. They want to wear you down. See, it wouldn't be this much chaos if Trump or Trump acolytes weren't in office. It wouldn't be this much chaos. Here's an option. Gavin Newsom, he looks good, he sounds good. Look, he's even pushing back. He's starting to change his tune when it comes to dudes smacking women upside the head in male sports. See, his heart is changing. He's moderate. Look at the way he's speaking. Look at the way he's conversing with Charlie Kirk and Michael Savage. This is the guy that's in the middle. This is the guy that can bring America together. No, he's not. The guy's a wrecking ball. The guy's a wrecking ball. Look at the Palisades fires. He doesn't even know what to do. Karen Bass, all of this. The state is a disaster as a result of Democrat leadership. Not all parts, but much of it. Think about this high-speed rail Victor Davis Hanson writes about. $100 to $200 billion spent on the high-speed rail debacle. He says, I'm not even talking about Gavin Newsom blowing up of 4 dams, the Klamath River. That took about $250 billion. So you got $200 billion on a high-speed rail that goes nowhere. You got $250 billion on the Klamath River. You got the canceling of 3 reservoirs, Los Banos Grandes Sites Reservoir, the Temperance Flat, which would have given us Victor Davis Hanson rights in a year like this, where we have ample rainfall and snow melt, about 5 million acres feet of storage, which would have come in handy in August. He talks about California debt. Just this year alone, California has started off with $76 billion in debt. He says we have the highest income tax rate at 13.3%. What the hell are you paying for? See, this is the left. We have the highest gas taxes, nearly 70 cents per gallon. We have the highest sales taxes, property taxes, Medi-Cal. He says that half of all births in California are covered by Medi-Cal. How is that feasible? How is that feasible? The goal is dependency. We have spent almost $11 billion on the impoverished, mostly for people who are here illegally. And now we're broke. You're asking Gavin Newsom to borrow $3.4 billion from the general fund, which is in arrearage, to pay for the health care of people who are here illegally. More importantly, in addition to that, almost 20% of all the people who are PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric users, have not paid their bills. That's Gavin Newsom. That's California. Let's not get the guy on platform,
please. Important Social Security news. President Trump's Doge chief, Elon Musk, says Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. And he says there's so much fraud, it's the big one to eliminate. Now, Rob Bitterty is on Newsmax tonight, warning that your Social Security could be in danger. Already, Doge is slashing half the Social Security offices across the nation. Rob Bitterty says that's wrong. Millions will find their benefits denied. You paid into Social Security all your life. Now, Rob Bitterty exposes the lies about Social Security and why it must be protected. Watch Rob's special series on the dangers to Social Security at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Find Newsmax on all major cable systems or download the free Newsmax app. Millions of Americans are switching to Newsmax because it's news they can trust. It's real news for real people.
Here at AM 590, The Answer, with news and talk you can really trust. The Answer is the morning answer with Jim and Brad. Weekday mornings 6 to 9.
He's gonna call you a crumb bum.
If anything used to call you a crumb bum, you're a crumb bum freak. You're a crumb freak lush cow. Now we can talk. What are we doing next, Jen?
Well, let me tell you here, we're gonna watch some baseball, and then we're gonna talk about Karen Bass being a dingo.
That's why you do that. AM 580, The Answer.
There's a family-owned business here in the Inland Empire and Coachella Valley that's helped hundreds of thousands of people live better. Dennis Prater here to tell you about Clark's Nutrition and Natural Food Market in Loma Linda, Riverside, and Rancho Mirage. Family-owned and operated since 1972, Clark's is the largest selection of supplements, organic foods, and produce in the area. And now you can place your order online at clarksnutrition.com. That's right, just place your order and let them shop for you with easy curbside pickup. With 52 years in business, Clark's friendly, knowledgeable staff has been helping people live better to better nutrition for a long time. And they also have the Nutrition Mission podcast to help educate and inform customers. So do yourself a favor, check out Clark's Nutrition and Natural Food Market in Loma Linda, Riverside, and Rancho Mirage, or shop online at clarksnutrition.com.
Hi, I'm Officer Davis with the California Highway Patrol. Are you a female interested in starting a meaningful career with California Highway Patrol? Apply today and earn a starting salary of $122,500. This month, we'll be hosting a Woman in Law Enforcement seminar on Saturday, March 29th. For more information, contact a Southern Division Recruiter at 818-240-8200. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show. I want to talk to you about Equity Protect, Dennis, Carl Jackson, and for Dennis Prager. You've heard Dennis say that the more you appreciate what you have, the happier you will be. However, Dennis also believes that you need to protect what you do have. Did you know that last year, 1 in 10 Americans were targeted for real estate fraud? Can you imagine waking up one morning to find that all of your hard-earned equity has been stolen? There's one company that Dennis endorses that completely stops these crimes from happening to you, and that is Equity Protect. And the truth is, if you own your home mortgage-free, or you have high equity, you need Equity Protect. Right now, Equity Protect is offering Dennis's listeners an incredible deal. 30% off your first year. All you have to do is go to equityprotect.com/Prager. Use the discount code Prager30. That is Prager30. Once you have Equity Protect, you don't even need to check. You can trust the team at Equity Protect. I was just reading a headline somewhere, just randomly, one of these things that pops up where these group of partiers went to this home to party maybe a couple months ago and never left. Insane. Equity Protect. You may want to give them a call. Just crazy stuff that's happening out there. I'm scrolling through my computer looking for. Did you guys know that Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is going to cost $2 trillion by 2035? That's why I love what happened with the EPA and those reconsiderations. And it isn't about making the environment and the air and the water dirtier, as the left would contend. It does the exact opposite. Actually, now the EPA is going to focus on projects that matter and projects that don't, and they're going to stop punishing people for success. So we talked about that yesterday with Mark Morano of ClimateDepot.com. So make sure you check that out. The Carl Jackson Show, YouTube, Rumble, Salem Podcast Network, wherever you go to get your podcast. Find me on X, Instagram, and Facebook at The Carl Jackson Show, at Carl Jackson Show, or at The Carl Jackson Show. Victor Davis Hanson just goes on. I want to mention a few more of these before I go to the call. But you don't want America to become California. And the goal is dependence. I want to play a clip for you, actually, if I could, before we do that. This is Chuck Schumer. He appeared on The View the other day. And here's what he had to say about all of you hardworking Americans out there. Cut number 37. Por favor, Mr. McConnell.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees? They take government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay, good news. Egg prices have fallen for the third straight week in a row. I posted that. Chuck Schumer is a joke. He's desperate. I want you to understand what you just witnessed. What you just heard was political theater on Chuck Schumer's part. I'm not even convinced that Chuck Schumer would have made those statements, even on The View 10 years ago. This is a guy that's desperate to hold on to his power in the Senate as Senate Minority Leader. This is This is what you're witnessing. There's already rumors out there that AOC this go round may go ahead and challenge her. You've got people now that are out now publicly saying, Chuck E. Schumer, it's time for you to step down. They don't believe that he's the man of the future. And here he is mocking you as a taxpayer. Just so that you know who the left is. They don't care about you. Chuck Schumer doesn't care about you. Chuck Schumer has lived on this earth long enough to know that. He knows what's happening. He knows that his Democrat Party is destroying this freaking country, but he's obsessed with staying in power. So he's willing to mock you. Hey, you taxpayer, you slave, you go work for us. He's willing to go further left in order to protect himself, even if it means hurting you. Why? Because Democrats break stuff. PG&E in West Virginia, California, users 20% have not paid their bills or can't pay their bills. He says we already pay 70 to 80% of Victor Davis Hanson, higher electric bills than any other state and in general, higher than the average American. What about roads? California is either dead last or among the 5 worst states as far as the condition of their freeways and general roads. Remember what I was saying about Elon? When I started really gaining respect for him, I'm looking at these space missions and I'm like, I mean, this guy just coming out of nowhere. I mean, he's going to take over space exploration. Yeah. He did. Private sector, 5,000-year leap. Government was in the way. Government is out of the way. California has some of the worst roads in the entire nation. He says, how can that be when we have the highest gas taxes in the U.S.? So my question to you, your governor, you are governor, you have this enormous tax base. This is what Victor Davis Hanson said he would have asked Gavin Newsom. You have a $9 trillion industry in Silicon Valley, and yet you will not address these existential needs that we don't have affordable power. We don't know what to do with the millions of people, 1 out of every 5, who won't or can't pay their power bill. We don't have enough money to give medical support for illegal aliens. Oh, by the way, 27% of the population of the state was born not inside of the United States. Our school test scores are in the bottom 10 of the United States. So essentially, Governor, you created a state that has the highest taxes and yet the worst social service. Trump and those are exposing that. And the left wants to destroy them because they're fighting for you. Oh, by the way, Trump has just revoked $175 million from UPenn because they won't give up their trans athletes. Their trans in athletes program. Kudos to Trump for staying strong. Guys, we can't, we're acting like we're not living in historical times, and we are. We are. So I appreciate Trump taking these fights, albeit executive order. These fights are going to end up in the court. And you do have Republicans. If you guys stay on them, then we'll hopefully codify many of these executive orders into law. If you don't give them a call, they won't do it. Because they're a bunch of rhinos, and I got a funny feeling that a bunch of them are crooked as well. I was getting hooked up from USA, so we got to stay on top of this stuff. But anyway, listen, I'll be back with your calls. My name is Carl Jackson, sitting in for Dennis Prager. We'll be back in a few.
Don't settle for less. Your dog deserves the best. That's why we created Dr. Fidos, a plant-based dog food topper packed with 40 ingredients made with whole foods from carrots to bananas. And the best part? No cooking, no chopping, just stir into their food. Go to drfidos.com and subscribe today and save $20 a month. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Dogs can't write 5-star reviews, but their owners have.
I've always thought that dog food seems like a little bland, and so this helps give it a little bit of flavor. There's something interesting for them, and yeah, they really love it. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Go to drfidos.com and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's drphytos.com
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher inviting you to join me on the Patriots Alaska Cruise this summer, along with Larry Elder, Joe Piscopo, Jennifer Horn. Enjoy Alaska's breathtaking beauty like never before. Text the keyword travel to 94878 to reserve your stateroom today. This luxury trip is your chance to experience majestic scenery, patriotism, and adventure. We sail August 16th to the 23rd. Reserve your stateroom today. Text travel to 94878. That's travel to 94878.
Dennis Prager here. Jim Buttrell would like to congratulate Governor Gavin Newsom for winning the U-Haul Salesperson of the Year. Folks, are you tired of living in the highest tax state in the country while watching crime and homelessness soar? Are you tired of paying for schools and their forced curriculum that you don't agree with? What about the soaring cost of home and auto insurance? Are you ready to discuss leaving California? If so, call Jim Buttrell at eXp Realty to help you get out of California so you too can live your best life away from ridiculous taxes, woke policies, and Gavin Newsom. Call Jim Buttrell and we'll set you free. Jim will make sure you get to the red state of your choice with cash in hand. Call 800-498-SOLD. That's 800-498-SOLD, or go to JimHasTheBuyers.com. That's JimHasTheBuyers.com. Call Jim Buttrell and your home will sell.
DRE 01154905. We got some seniors how to prevent Medicare scams. You got a phone call, Jim, talk to the person. Whenever you're not your Medicare number, they're going to get your number for that false claim.
Just say that.
You detect Medicare fraud. If I gotta check my credit card statement, I check my Medicare statement monthly.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it. Call the Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call 855-613-7080. The Easy Answer app is here. Tell me the last one of your friends to have it. Download it now at the App Store or Google Play. Carry us all around town.
Alright, welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show, guys. I want to talk to you about PragerU. PragerU concludes its Hall of Evil series with the Cambodian madman Pol Pot. Under his brutal regime, nearly a quarter of the Cambodian population was wiped out in his infamous killing fields. See the newest video at PragerU.com where we teach what should be taught. All right, let's go to your calls. I'm going to ask you to be as quick as possible. Let's go to Lynn. Lynn is in Atlanta, Georgia. Lynn, welcome to the Dennis Prager Show. You got the mic.
Hello, Carl. I love your show. I want to encourage the listeners to stay involved with politics, that you don't just, after your man gets elected, you're done. We have to think of it not as being the spectators up on the grandstand, but we're the team that's down on the field, and we have to stay in shape and stay training. So, anyhow.
Man, that's good. That's good. I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in. Let's go to Stan in New Jersey. Stan, welcome to the Dennis Prager Show. You got the mic. If you give me quick.
Yes, Carl, I want to give you a big kudos. I think that you are too TOO street smart, that you are too OO down to earth, and that you just have to be a little bit more lenient on understanding what stupidity represents in this country. And yes, everybody has to speak up. And number 2 and 3 and 4 is that Trump was elected for 4 years, not for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And every day he says we're just getting started, but people like Glenn, et cetera, think that there's a time limit to all this. And I'll tell you one very, very funny thing. There was a judge who turned back these people going to Venezuela and said, you got to turn the plane back. And no one picked up where the judge said, but they have to stop off and pick up fentanyl because the only thing they do in the United States is sell fentanyl, and they're entitled to make a living in the United States also. No one stop on that.
Oh, man. Listen, that's scandalous. Hey, thank you. God bless you for being out there, Stan. I wanted to get to that today. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. This time just flew, frankly. Let's go to Chuck real quickly. Is in Parma, Ohio. Chuck, welcome to the Dennis Prager Show. You got the mic. Gotta be quick, though.
Thank you, Carl. Hey, I too am outraged and disgusted that the Biden administration left the astronauts up there for many more months than they should have been. But if you think about it, why should we be surprised? I mean, after all, when we pulled out of Afghanistan, he left all those people behind, aid workers, informants that helped our military, and
Man, that's wrong.
so, you know, and you got, you know, people like Glenn Beck that was chartering flights, to get those people out of there until the government said, no, you're not allowed to do that.
That's right. We gotta leave it there. We gotta leave it there. Just out of time. Neil, call back tomorrow. Love to take your call. Left wants to destroy people like Musk, so on, etc. All right, more tomorrow. Until next time, don't go where you're doing good. God bless you.
AM 590, The Answer. You're tuned in to Southern California's only local news and talk station you can trust.
Hi, this is Billy Miles. By age 65, most Americans will have worked 90,000 hours. Those hours build your next egg. Which upon retiring, you'll need to generate monthly income. That's because when you put your JOB, you'll need INCOME. Don't let your income or your portfolio drop due to the current market volatility. I've been protecting clients' portfolios and providing them with tax-free income for over a decade. We text work income to 909-321-9737. Listen to the last episode Saturday, 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Sundays at 1:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. on AM 590 The Answer.
If it's time to sell your house, Seller's Advantage will buy your home with a competitive cash offer, as is.
No need for repairs, no agents, and they can close in days. Call 888-421 as is for your no obligation offer or visit sellersadvantage.com.
Portions of the following are pre-recorded.
AM 590 The Answer. Find us at AM590theanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at SNC.TV.
News on Donald Graham, President Trump and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky speaking today by phone as the administration pushes a ceasefire amidst the ongoing Russian invasion. White House spokeswoman Caroline Levitt.
They agreed this could be the first step toward the full end of the war and ensuring security. President Zelensky was grateful for the president's leadership in this effort and reiterated his willingness to adopt a full ceasefire.
Today's call comes a day after Mr. Trump spoke with Russia's leader Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin claims it will temporarily halt the targeting of Ukrainian energy infrastructure. The reserve leaving key interest rates unchanged. Uncertainty around the changes and their effects on the economic outlook is high. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said concerns about trading the economy and inflation making the decision. Central Bank is also expecting unemployment rate to tick a little higher. Americans listening to Fox News. The Answer is the place for everyone's opinion. The Answer is the morning answer with Jim and Brett. Weekday mornings 6 to 9.
The plans to move the center, become more moderate, more wishy-washy.
But if you say yes, I'd like to be more wishy-washy.
I wake up every morning and look in the mirror and say, I'm gonna be wishy.
In fact, they call him Sheriff Wishy-Washy, I think.
Because I'm waiting for your answer. That's why you tune in at AM 590 The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. This new year, get out of debt now. There are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. In 2025, resolve to get rid of your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. For almost 20 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. To celebrate 2025, you can start for as little as $99 regardless of how much debt you owe. Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. End the endless cycle of payments now. Take a stand. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially cut your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now for a free consultation at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Ever wonder what happens to termites during the winter? They don't die, they don't go dormant.
And they don't stop eating. In fact, they use your house to breed thousands of hungry children. This is Sue Freeze of Ecola Termite and Pest Control.
And this is Tyson. With our cooler winter months, termites actually hunker down in your home, making babies and feasting on your house.
And they can be very expensive house cats. You've seen their damage. So call us at Ecola for a free termite inspection at 877-332-BUGS.
We know how to detect them, and if you don't have termites, we'll tell you about effective treatments to keep them away.
Ecola is the leader and best in mother-approved and pet-friendly alternative methods as well as traditional termite control. So call us for your free termite inspection at 877-332-BUGS. 877-332-BUGS.
Or online at termitelady.com for Ecola, powerful termite and pest control.
As gentle as the butterfly.
Are you a business owner frustrated with marketing reps that promise the moon and the results are not paying the bills? Hi, I'm Jenny Stein, media strategist here at Salem Media. My clients will tell you they have the same problems with marketing, and so they partner with me and my team. Our marketing focuses on what works at the lowest possible cost per lead. We work closely with you to determine what kind of customers you need and how to get in front of them. Whether it be radio, digital, or pay-per-click, we bring in the right leads for you. Partnering with me here at Salem ensures that you are working with a company with integrity right here in your backyard. I've got customers that have been growing their business with me year over year for over a decade. So call me for help with all your marketing needs at 714-591-2505. That's 714-591-2505. Bring in more leads and build your business with me. Jenny Stein, 714-591-2505.
My name is John. I've been a Republican my whole life. I've voted for Donald Trump. But when I hear how Republicans in Congress want to cut Medicaid, that's just wrong.
Right now, some Republicans in Congress are trying to make major cuts to Medicaid. These cuts could take health care coverage away from millions of veterans, children with disabilities, and seniors in nursing homes. The Republicans who propose them may not realize these Medicaid cuts hurt everyone, including Americans who voted for them.
Medicaid should not be about politics. Too many people rely on it every day for their health care. I'm a Republican, and my message to Republicans in Congress is this: stop these cuts to Medicaid.
Call Congressman Powers at 202-225-1986 and tell him to stop these cuts to Medicaid. Paid for by Save My Care.
AM 590, The Answer is the place for everyone's opinion.
Glory be praised to their God. Good evening, CEO West today. Thank you for listening. Whether you're listening on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, or live in your car, or watching on the Salem News channel, welcome. Big show today. Secretary Dave Rubio is coming along a little bit later. And then Charles City, Cook, Christine Rose, and many people. But I'm pleased to welcome to the program this morning Leo Terrell. He's Senior Counsel to Attorney General Pam Bondi in the Civil Rights Division. And Leo may not remember this, but he was my guest on the Old Life and Time show that I hosted for 10 years in LA from 1992 to 2002. Because Leo and I have been doing this a while. He's also a very expert broadcaster, superb lawyer. He's a young man. He's a year younger than I am, so he's a young man. But I'm so glad to see you at the Civil Rights Division, Leo. Welcome. How are you?
I remember that. Was that on KCET back in
Life and Times?
You better believe it. It was a great program. And to answer your question, I am extremely happy. I'm very happy that President Trump appointed me to this position. I'm very happy to work with Pam Bondi. This is something that, as a civil rights attorney for 30 years, it is a privilege to serve this country, and I'm glad to be on your show.
You know, we got along so about the same time, and I did a courtship, and then I went over to DOJ, working as a special assistant for Ed Meese and Bill Smith.
And it's been 40 years that I'm in radio and you're back at DOJ, so things turn around, things change. But you did a great thing last week. You cut off $400 million to the Columbia University in order to stop their continued non-protection of Jewish students on their campus pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Do I have that right?
Yes, you're 100% correct. Title VI is the mechanism to defund Columbia of $400 million.
So what did you actually do? Let's walk out and be a little bit lawyery with me. Did you send them a notice letter? Did you send a letter to everyone in the federal government saying no more money for Columbia? How did it actually roll out?
Well, it's important that your viewers and listeners understand what I am doing. I am part of a task force to combat anti-Semitism. President Trump issued an executive order. He wants to eradicate anti-Semitism in this country. If you recall, the last administration turned their back on the Jewish American community, turned their back on Jewish students. So President Trump gave Pam Bondi and the DOJ a directive: eradicate anti-Semitism throughout the country, and at the schools, at Columbia, at Harvard, NYU, at UCLA, where I went to law school at. And so we created a task force. And part of that task force responsibility was to go after these anti-Semitic universities that receive federal funding. President Trump, Pam Bondi, will not have taxpayers' dollars subsidize anti-Semitic behavior. So that's going to take the money away.
I think this is great. My alma maters are Harvard undergrad and Michigan Law School. And you can go after them second and third. Cut them off well because they have not protected their Jewish students either. UCLA is an absolute disgrace. It's all over this country. Anti-Semitism has exploded. I'm just wondering how you do it. I mean, this is a practical lawyering matter. I practice law. I'm not retired, but I'm not getting any more clients. I just don't know. Do you send them a letter? Do you just cut the checks off? What do you do?
Well, you first of all give them notice, because remember, they have an obligation under Title VI to provide education opportunities and not to discriminate against protected class status, religion, color, ethnicity. And they basically were receiving taxpayer dollars illegally because they were not protecting Jewish American citizens. And so what we did was we basically gave them notice and we stopped providing the funding. And I'll get news for you. To Harvard, to the NYU, to Michigan, same thing's happening to them. It's going to happen because we're going to look at the numbers of federal dollars, and it totals in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And we're going after them. And
you're doing the Lord's work. That Civil Rights Act of 1964 is very explicit that you may not discriminate against students based upon their ethnicity or race, and Jews are both an ethnicity and a race, and they've been discriminated against. So they shouldn't get any federal money. I just want to know the evidentiary basis that you're going to use going forward. If you're sitting out, let's say, the Ohio State University beat national football champions. They had some anti-Semitism last year. They brought the hammer down on it and they stopped it. Are they going to get a letter? I mean, what do they have to worry about? How far back are you looking? Are you just looking about right now?
Well, no, we're looking back at a number of years that the statute of limitation allows us, not only under Title VI, but Title VII as well. Title VII protects the employer-employee relationship. There are Jewish professors, Jewish student workers. So what we have is to follow the statute of limitation on both not only Title VI, but Title VII. And it applies to all these universities that not only receive federal funds, but have to follow the Civil Rights Act regarding the employer-employee relationship. They can't discriminate based on, again, protected class status. Ready?
Are you going to have complaints from professors who feel that they've been discriminated against on the good? Investigate them all. We got his pictures up here, Ronald Reagan. When I was at Justice Department, his division of civil rights was run by